Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 4. My name is Jason Gorman with Chris Weiler, Justin Matzik, Ben Christensen. We are the rest of the field. We're excited to be back. We brought you some content over the weekend. Hopefully you saw that. And we're coming back with our full podcast today. We're excited about this one. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff. We're going to end it with another draft like we always do. But before we get started, I want to turn it over to Justin with a special message.
All right, boys. I got a shout out to Taylor Haley. I think some of you guys probably know him. He's watches the show, and he requested that I show this jersey. So I don't know if you can put up full screen, maybe. But can you guys see that?
Yep. Miami Vice.
There you go.
That would be Tyler Hero.
Okay.
Wisconsin boy, Whitnall. He's a huge Tyler Hero fan. So, and he also wanted me to say, you need to put that jersey up and tell those guys on the show that Tyler Hero is the best shooter in the NBA and that I'm the best shooter on this panel. And I said, I can definitely do that. So
there'd be much disagreement on our pod side of things. Maybe we could do a best shooters in the NBA draft coming up.
I think that could be possible. But anyways, I want to give a shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Tyler Hero. Like I said, Wisconsin boy, Whitnall, having a great rookie season. Hopefully, I'm not saying had a great rookie season. Hopefully, they'll still play. But that's a shout out I wanted.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Taylor, for tuning in. And you know, that goes out for everybody. You can find us at rest_field on Twitter. We do have some content up on Instagram. I really got to learn how to use that better. And then obviously on YouTube where you're watching this. If you guys have any comments, you have any questions, you have any ideas or suggestions, certainly reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you think we should do. If you like it, if you don't like it, if you think this would make it better, let us know, because we're certainly up for that. And you're going to see that later in the show. And then obviously Taylor with the shout out here today. So certainly hit us up on all of our social medias. But with that, let's get right into it. So this past week, we had a couple different things happen. So we had the Adam Sandler movie draft, and we posted that on our Twitter, like I said. At rest_field is where you can find that. And we typically will post what everybody's team is, and then in the tweet connected to it. So it's right underneath. When you're looking at that, you can vote for it and vote for team 1, 2, 3, or 4. In this draft, Ben was team number 1. Reluctantly, he did not want that number 1 pick because he is our panel's Adam Sandler aficionado, if I'm saying that right. I don't even really know the full meaning of it, but either way, he went number 1. I was team 2. Team 3, I believe, was Chris, and team 4. Oh yeah, looking at the teams here, team 4 was definitely Justin with that terrible Sandy Wexler pick. And here's how it turned out. I guess I sort of ran away with it. Chris, the closest team to me, kind of what I figured. Chris and I had 2 strong teams, and Deke obviously the worst, coming in at number 4. Anybody have any comments on how they think that one turned out, if it shouldn't have been any different?
No surprises by me. I think you had the best lineup, so I think they chose right this time.
What was your favorite movie of the 4, Jason? Since you're the winning team.
Of the 4 that I picked, probably Uncut Gems, just because it's not like the rest. I think there's so many similarities between the rest of his comedy movies that Uncut Gems is phenomenal. Should have been up for an Oscar somewhere along the lines. I think it got totally snubbed, I think. But I thought that was a really good movie and totally different Adam Sandler than anything else he's ever done. Even totally different from your weird Sandy Wexler pick. So we'll move on from that one.
I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah,
not seen Uncut Gems.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Moving on from that one, over the weekend, we did bring you a Bleacher Report Olympic basketball draft, and this one revolved around one of those $15 create your team images that Bleacher Report tweeted out. We decided to turn it into a draft. So team 1 here was Ben again. Seems to be a theme. And Team 2 was Justin this time. Team 3 was me, and then Team 4 was Chris. So everybody had pretty stacked teams. It just came down to who you guys liked out there as you were voting, and this is how that one turned out. Looked like Ben. I think the popularity of Michael Jordan and The Last Dance and everything currently happening certainly helped him. I think one of the biggest things I saw on social media for people voting was the balance of Ben's team. Although somebody said he didn't have a point guard. I think Justin, you missed out on some votes because of the Vince Carter pick at the end. I think everybody loves Vince Carter, but in terms of the caliber of names we're dealing with, that may have been an area where you lost a couple votes. And Chris's team got some late love in the last couple days of voting. He kind of shot up from no votes at all to where he ended up there. So all around, that was a fun one to do, and a little more current in terms of what The Last Dance had talked about later that day, because we did do that draft on Sunday. So we're going to try to keep doing that stuff for you guys, maybe bringing you something over the weekend, which we would consider sort of a midweek drop, and then coming out with our full podcast then during the week. So if you do have ideas for drafts or something for us to talk about, if we can't fit it into the full podcast during the week, then we will maybe even do a special segment on just that. So maybe we can do kind of a shout outs segment over the weekends with viewer ideas. So we'll move on from that one and then kind of bring up our Twitter poll question. And this was based around Aaron Rodgers and how he was feeling, or how we would feel if we were him during the draft. And those were the options there. They may have looked a little bit different on Twitter, and that was because I didn't realize you didn't have a lot of characters to use within your options on a poll, so I had to shorten them up the best I could with allowing the same type of answer. So any guesses? I don't know if you guys have seen the results. Do you guys have any guesses on where this one turned out?
I voted for the Super Bowl one, so I went with B. I'm not sure what it turned out to be, though.
I saw the results, so I'll stick out of it.
I got you.
I went with B as well. I guess I would think that's the way most people went.
Yeah, I can't remember if I went B or if I went with D, just because I like that one. But ultimately, the results there were B. It was fairly close votes for all. Surprisingly, the least amount of votes in for the top answer of maybe wanting to move on. I don't know if the fact that it was the Bears specifically that I put in there, that maybe people were like, okay, well, he's not going to go to the Bears, or I hate the Bears, so I don't want that. No. Hopefully that works out, that he plays with that chip on his shoulder and he's kind of upset at things and can take us to the Super Bowl. And I say us because we are all deeply involved with the Green Bay Packers. With that, let's move on to this week's poll question, which I didn't create a graphic for it, but kind of a current topic that has come up in the last couple days in ESPN covering the KBO, the Korean baseball, I think that's organization, I would guess, and having those games live. So there's live sports are back, and just want to know, will you watch KBO baseball on ESPN? And the options there are, and I want to hear from you three, what would you do? Absolutely watch every game. Sure, live sports is live sports, so I'm going to watch. If there is nothing else on, then maybe I'll tune in, or I'll pass and I'll just wait for the regular MLB to maybe come back in, or just other live sports in general to come on. So Ben, what are you thinking? What would you do with, or what are you doing with KBO baseball?
Well, I don't have ESPN, so it'll probably be something I'll pass on watching for now. But if I had it,
let's say you did. Yeah, let's say you did.
Yeah, if I had it and I was just flipping through just for something to be on, I'm sure I would stop and watch it. You know, sports is sports for me right now, and there's like literally nothing else on. So
I guess you're kind of in between two answers there, with one being sure live sports is live sports, and the other being if there's nothing else on. So if you're would you rather watch KBO live baseball, or would you rather watch one of these replays of these games that they have on every channel?
Yeah, replays are fine as well. So I guess I would fall more in the if there's nothing else on sort of thing.
Okay, so you prefer the sort of the U.S. sports, what we know, and watching the people you know, as opposed to current live, something new that you don't know the outcome.
Correct. Yeah, there's more of a connection there for me, obviously, versus
Sure.
you know, people we don't see. And then obviously once the MLB or even other sports comes back, this KBO will probably get pushed off even further for me.
Oh, absolutely. So, Chris, where are you at on this poll?
I'll pass on this one. I'm not going to be watching any Korean baseball on ESPN. I am praying that we get some baseball back here starting in June and maybe some games in July, but I'm going to have to pass on both watching previous Packer highlights of Super Bowl seasons and on Korean baseball, guys. Sorry.
Interesting. I would have thought you would have gone a different route. You know, there are some, I see they're listing them on DraftKings and FanDuel, and I'm sure there's also sports betting options out there as well. So I guess I'm a little surprised to hear that answer, but that's totally your prerogative.
That's
so
true.
Deke, where do you come in then? Hit that fancy unmute button.
I'm shocked that there's no ESPN in Georgia. That makes two guys in Georgia that don't have ESPN. You got to hook up with Chris again and get that link up there.
Right.
About the
yeah.
month, big stretch for you guys.
But I will watch this. Live sports is live sports. The only problem is I would have to be up at like 2:30 in the morning. So if I am by chance up at that time, I will for sure turn it on and watch.
What about, I don't know if they're going to do it, but if they did replays, you know, during, not necessarily prime time, but like just during regular hours of the day, where you don't obviously know the score because you'd really have to, you know, put in a little research to find out who's winning these games.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's weird to me. There's something that's in my mind. I can't watch a replay. It's even now with some of the replays of the sports, you know, like the American sports that they have, like the World Series and Super Bowls. I feel like I'm going to get into it, and then I watch it for like 5-10 minutes, and I'm just like, I don't know. I can't really get into it. So
Sure.
I think it would have to be live.
I've been watching Masters replays like crazy.
That's super depressing.
Oh, it's fun.
Is it?
It is fun. Oh, it's a wormhole, man. Like 4 or 5 hours worth of broadcasting in one sitting. It's glorious.
Maybe you should work a little bit. All right. Well, this Twitter poll question is going to be up today, so we'll get that up with those options. I think had I had ESPN, I think I would watch it. I guess if nothing else is on, my wife and I do like to sort of binge watch our shows and things like that. So, you know, once
like
we're done with
anybody
that,
out of this panel, like you would have been the top pick to view this category. Like you'd be watching live baseball.
No, I would, but I mean, it's like the times of the day where I can watch. I mean, yeah, it would be a late night thing, which I am up, usually most nights late. So if I was up and not doing anything else, then I would certainly be watching that baseball, and I would probably get sucked into doing DraftKings or maybe placing bets on a very legal, you know, website of some sort that I would find out there. But
if it's
without
illegal,
ESPN,
it's our own fault. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So we'll move on from there. Check out that Twitter poll question. Let us know what you think. Find us at @rest_field on Twitter, and we'll keep this rolling. Huge update. I want to know exactly what Ben is thinking. Ben, you know what I'm talking about. Nicolas Cage being listed as the Joe Exotic on an upcoming series about Tiger King. I don't know if they're just going to sort of redo it and dramatize it, or if they're going to do a deeper dive into some of the other stuff. But what do you think, without getting too deep into the show itself, just the choice of Nicolas Cage as Joe Exotic? Ben, are you giving that a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I'm giving it a thumbs down.
Ooh.
I mean, I like Nick Cage in like Face Off. That's about as far back as I go with a good Nicolas Cage movie.
Well, let me give you this.
I thought David Spade would have been perfect to fill in the Joe Exotic. So that's
okay.
That's the guy who would have got my pick for it.
Let me give you Nicolas Cage in Con Air. So you have somewhat of the hair. You know, obviously we dye it blonde, but I think the look can be there. I think the thing for me with David Spade, because of the whole Joe Dirt thing, is it'd be hard to take it seriously. Now, I don't know what route they're taking this series, if it's supposed to be serious, if it's supposed to be a spoof and they're going to more make fun of it. But I feel like it's really hard to take David Spade seriously. I don't know that he's had many, if any, serious roles at all. So that's where I don't like a David Spade in this, even though the Joe Dirt tie is there. Justin, you're a big Joe Dirt fan, so what do you think of Nicolas Cage being picked as Joe Exotic?
I think it's okay. I think this has to be a comedy spin though, because
so?
Yeah, for me, because the whole reason I watched Tiger King in general is because it caught my attention that holy cow, like this is actually real.
Right.
Like all this stuff is actually real. And if you do a series that's serious, but now it's not real, after you just watched the Tiger King or, you know, in recent memory. So I think for me, it has to be a comedy. So I'm going with David Spade.
David Spade as well? Nobody else has any other imagination? Maybe Chris
no, because he's Joe Dirt. Tiger King is Joe Dirt.
He's already perfected it.
And also Con Air is a great movie.
Yes, Con Air is awesome. Yeah. What do you mean, thank you? I'm the one who brought it up.
Well, I mean,
yes,
good reminder.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Ben, for the compliment that you said thank you for.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I will accept
Chris,
all praise for the movie.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? What do you think of Nicolas Cage?
For me to get a double thumbs up selection-wise, all right? Nicolas Cage to play Tiger King, like that's gold in my mind. I was thinking National Treasure, like he's a little too sophisticated. He's going to have to get a little crazy. Love the Con Air reference, actually. So I think for them to get Nicolas Cage was a big deal, but I'm very confused as to what the hell they're doing here. I'm already over Tiger King. Wasn't in love with it to start, so another series on it. I think I'm out.
Yeah, and I fall into the same boat as you. I didn't really like Tiger King after the first couple episodes. It got pretty monotonous after that. Okay, it's crazy. We get it. Let's move on. If nothing's actually going to happen. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what route they take this. If Nicolas Cage is just going to be like wild and crazy the whole time. Hopefully he can channel one of his previous roles and maybe pull off something that's cool. But I just don't know what they're, you know, if we've already seen everything that's happened, well, what else are they going to expand on? Like what do we not know that's happened? It'd be interesting.
One thing that we haven't asked is who plays Carol Baskins in this show. That's going to be the main ticket, right?
Yeah, and I think there's only a certain number of people that are in show business, or unless it's a no-name person that we just don't know, but that have that look, that have that, you know, body type. Not that it needs to necessarily be about that, but to try to get the look down. I know Nicolas Cage can grow any type of facial hair, and he's had longer hair before, so that's a little bit easier for him to do. But on the female side, I'd be interested, the whole cast, to know what they do there. I want to know what they're going to cover, if this is like sort of maybe it's leading up to the point where they start covering Tiger King, and it's more like how he got into, you know, buying his first tiger and then expanding that into what it became. And then maybe towards the end, we very briefly get a glimpse into his rivalry and hatred of Carol Baskins at the end.
I think Kathy Bates could be Carol Baskins.
Yeah. Yep. That was one that right away came into my mind as somebody that could definitely work there. So it'll be interesting. I just wanted to get your guys' take on Nicolas Cage being brought up. That's been big news in the entertainment world. So that's something we covered back on episode 1. So go back and check that out. Let us know what you think of that episode, and then let us know what you think of Nicolas Cage being brought on as the new Joe Exotic. And from there, we'll keep it in television, but we'll turn it more over to some sports here. And I just want to talk about two different shows. Obviously, we've covered off on The Last Dance every week as new episodes have come out. But again, I don't have ESPN, even though what I'm about to talk about was on ESPN. Somebody had posted a link, which was actually just on YouTube. And I think since I've sent it out to everybody saying, hey, watch this, it's been taken down because obviously those rights belong to ESPN, Disney, all that sort of thing. So I was able to catch Project 11, the Alex Smith story. And if you haven't seen it, it's an E60 on ESPN. I don't know what type of on-demand ability they have on there, but I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It's a wild story that takes place, from his injury in 2018, sort of up until, present time, and how he dealt with the injury, rehab, all that. It's gruesome. If I don't mind sports injuries, I don't have to look away. I like looking closer to see, how bad did he sprain his ankle? Let me see if I can see where he broke his arm or his leg or whatever. Not only do they show the injury multiple times and maybe touch on some Joe Theismann things as well, but everything that happened to him, and I'm trying not to give too much away if you haven't seen it, everything that went on in the hospital room, the multiple surgeries to help him repair everything, is so wild. It's so the only word I can really think of is gruesome. It's not necessarily that because it's very medical. So it's not like a horror story that is trying to do something gory just to gross people out. I mean, this is real. This is somebody's real life that was on the line. I mean, it wasn't just about, him getting back on the field healthy. It was about, one, saving his leg, and it was, two, about saving his life and how everybody, including him, dealt with that. It's truly a fascinating story. I would recommend it to everybody. Just know that, and they do give disclaimers every time they come back from commercial, that it is very graphic. So maybe not something for the kids unless they're into that sort of thing. And even for the adults, if you're squeamish like Ben is when it comes to sports injuries and things like that, you may not want to look. I showed Ben a picture about it, and I was surprised he looked. He didn't have too bad of a reaction to it, but awesome. I thought it was an awesome show. What'd you have, Deke?
I was just going to say I'm also squeamish. I don't like the sports injury things. They make my stomach turn.
So not like medical shows if somebody's on a table having surgery and there's...
I can't watch any of that stuff. It just makes me anxious. It's just not my
Game
cup
of Thrones,
of tea.
nothing?
No.
You may not want to tune in then, because it does. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a heart-wrenching story though too. I'll be honest. I was close to tears. There's a lot involved in just a 45-minute show. So certainly check that out. But I don't want to go too deep into it without having to give away too much detail on the show itself. So maybe we'll touch back if we hear from some of you on social media if you liked it and things like that. So from there, we'll just go into The Last Dance. Again, I haven't seen it. So Justin, you've been leading the way on this. What was this week about? What'd you like? What'd you think?
Sure, yeah. I thought this week was the best 2 episodes there have been. I know last week we touched on, and Chris had mentioned, that he wants to see a little more behind the scenes in the locker room, on the bus, on the planes, MJ and his teammates, talking about things, getting after each other. I think there's a little bit more of that, so it was cool. My takeaway, I think my biggest takeaway that was kind of neat is that, Jordan got to a point where he couldn't handle being Michael Jordan. And, so many people in this world, and probably including myself and all of us, think to ourselves, man, I'd die to be Michael Jordan, or I'd die to be LeBron James or whatever, but you really don't know if you could actually do that. And Michael Jordan couldn't actually do that. And I thought that was pretty interesting part of these 2 episodes. The other kind of funny, cool things I thought were when Jordan went back and played the Knicks in the Garden and he brought back the old Jordan 1s And he said that after the game or at halftime, his feet were absolutely killing him, and his socks were full of blood.
Oh,
but he kept on wearing the shoes. And so, all of us being, deep into the shoe game, work for a company that, is deep into the shoe game. It's funny how much shoes have evolved and come to where they are now. And Jordan was wearing the Air Force, not the Air Force ones, but the Air Jordan ones. And his socks were full of blood. So that was interesting. Scott Burrell is a party animal. Loves to go out and party. Jordan said he went out pretty much every single night and partied, so that was interesting. And then the last thing I thought was neat, and this kind of touched on Jordan's competitiveness, and when he does these interviews, you can just see it in his body language and the way he talks. And when they played the finals, so it had been the first finals, I believe, that they won, or second. They played the Blazers. And when everybody was comparing him to Clyde Drexler, and that was like the big matchup.
Yeah, that was a diss to him.
He basically came in the camera and said, "That's just a complete insult." And like honestly, I was like scared just watching the TV. I'm like, dude, he is still pissed off about that. And I think that is kind of neat. If that drives you to do whatever you do, that's fine. Now, some people are like, hey, don't ever keep grudges and whatnot, but if it drives you in the right direction, I thought that was pretty sweet. But
and did you think of the episodes that have been brought out, this was the best week so far?
Yeah, I think it was the best week. I think these were the best 2 episodes. They talked about the dream team too, and they got a little bit into how competitive of a team that was, and what can happen when you get a bunch of alphas together and you try to play sports. And if you're an athlete, if you're a competitive person in any aspect, that it's a kind of a cool watch to see that. So, and
then looking forward, still must see TV for weeks to come here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like Chris has mentioned, you're going to watch it. If you are a sports fan, it's good. It's good TV. Now they're going to keep getting farther into the playoffs. So, yeah, they also, stuff on the Tony Kukoc too, who was another big key player in the whole Bulls runs, who also was a Buck later in his career. So, you gotta love that. So
Chris, then on those same type of questions, did you enjoy this one the most, and what are you looking forward to in the coming episodes?
Yeah, I want to try just to elaborate more on Justin said. So for all of our viewers that watch this, it is on ABC. You don't have to listen to these 2 fools tell you about no ESPN. Like, there is antenna TV out there, that you can really get. So, rough life these 2 live, but I just want people to know it's on ABC.
I wonder if it's on Hulu then, like the day after. I won't be able to watch it live because I don't have live ABC, but I'll check it out.
Oh boy. So I like some things I like to look at, and just maybe it's the industry we all work in, but the fashion of the 90s is out there. Some of these jumpsuits that they're walking off the planes with is not just vibrant, but just stuff I could never pull off. So
I've seen Jordan and his Jordan's super baggy jeans and stuff that were like, there's no dimension to it whatsoever. It's just waist and then straight down. Like if you said it was connected in the middle and he was wearing a long jean skirt, then it looks that way. Those things were huge. Yeah, funny to see. I've seen a lot of that on social media, a lot of the pictures, wondering, and then photoshopping other people into those outfits, like current basketball players into some of Jordan's old outfits. Those have been pretty funny to see.
Yeah, their golf attire. It's just, everything is much different, but I wonder if it'll ever go back to that baggy. Everything does seem to rotate, but man, it was something. The only other thing like that I want to go over is just, so they go over his gambling, I don't want to say addiction, but his competitiveness and how much he loves to gamble. To me, we find all these athletes and like we try to compare ourselves to them. Him gambling 40,000 or something, of course, that's a ton of money and probably doesn't need to do that. But, you know, he's in a different realm than any of us. So it's for us to just sit here and try to bring him down and talk about the gambling aspect, I thought was really interesting and funny that, you know, just it hasn't really changed since even the 90s from today. So that was cool. But the best tweet I saw out there was Space Jams. In the movie, if you guys can recall, they're talking about him betting to get the NBA players, like to get the Bugs Bunny out of the galaxy or wherever they are, and he wants to up the bet to go even further to get the players back their powers. So, you know, he couldn't even hold off in an animation movie. That's hilarious to me. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna watch. Of course, I love it. It's great insight. The music gets me pumped every time. A lot of jock jam stuff out there. So good stuff if you have time to watch.
Yeah, and along those lines, check out our second episode, which was our Jock Jams draft. So that was a fun one for us to do. That was my first victory in our drafts. So Ben, any final thoughts on The Last Dance?
You guys totally glossed over the high point of both of these two episodes, and that was the bet that Jordan had with his bodyguard, who gave him the Jordan shrug after he won the quarter tossing game. I mean, that's an instant GIF or GIF, however you want to call it, right there, that will last forever. I mean, that was like the greatest part.
Explain this to me, because I haven't seen it.
So it looks like it's in the United Center before a basketball game, and Jordan's sitting there with 4 or 5 of his bodyguards who follow him around, and they're just playing a game where you toss a quarter, closest one to the wall wins, you know, $20-$30. Like, he's literally gambling on anything that he can to pass the time. And this one guy comes up, he's got the nice curly long hair, tosses the quarter, beats Jordan, and then just gives him the shrug. He just walks off. Takes Jordan's money right in front of the camera.
I will say this. Did you notice that Jordan afterwards made sure he collected those 3 quarters back? He wasn't letting that guy walk off with like 75 cents. I love that.
You'll get the 20, but I'm keeping that 75.
The other thing to point out, if you didn't watch it, is Jordan is the epitome of smooth, right? And this bodyguard that was trying to imitate Jordan is the epitome of not smooth. So that's why it was sort of funny.
Yeah.
The other thing too, you know, I'll kind of get your guys' take on this. I thought was just wild is, you know, MJ said that in the 80s when he first started playing, that guys at halftime would open a case of beer in the locker room.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s and smoke. And then in the 90s, guys were still smoking at halftime. And I heard stories, you know, about Vlade Divac having a cigarette in between quarters and things like that. I mean, to me, that is just, I just can't, it's just wild. It's so wild to me. But,
I mean, we've seen it in baseball, but, you know, like right there in the dugouts, but it's more shocking in basketball, you know, much more of a cardio sport.
Yeah.
For that I mean, either one. I mean, if you told me one or the other, not necessarily both, drinking or smoking is something I would not want to do anywhere around having to run around that much.
So
and trying to do it at the elite level.
If you guys were in the NBA and it was like your first week and you're a rookie and halftime came and you went down and the guys opened a case, would you guys take one and drink it?
No.
It's way different now, though. There's no chance you could do it now. I mean,
I'm saying if that happened, because it seems like when Jordan was talking about it, you know, he was like, "What in the world are these guys doing?"
Even in the world of you know, beer league softball, and teams that I played on would have cases of beer right there in the dugout. I wouldn't drink those during the game either. Not that I drink a lot of beer in general, but to be part of the team, I would certainly join in afterwards, but I never drank during the game. It's just not something I could do. I don't know.
I guess during softball, I was the guy that had the case sitting next to me, so I can't say on that.
Bringing one out on the field with
the few times I played, I actually brought the beer out onto the field with me. So
just a nod to your athleticism.
Exactly.
Yeah, so anyway,
that's why they like playing with us. We don't drink any of the beer.
Great point. That's a great point. Anyways, I thought that was kind of funny about those 2 episodes too. So
yeah, it's wild to take that trip back and see some of those different things. But that sort of wraps up our little television segment there. On Project 11, the Alex Smith story, and The Last Dance, both on ESPN. Certainly tune into The Last Dance as it comes up. If you haven't seen the Alex Smith story, go back and check that out on demand. I'm sure it's somewhere. But we'll take that right into this week's draft. And this week's draft actually came to us as a suggestion on Twitter, and that came from @TimShaw222. And so that is obviously Tim Shaw, a friend of ours back. I don't know if he's in Marshfield or where he is, but he was, I think, born and raised in Marshfield. So that kind of fits in
San
with the theme
Diego.
of this show. He's in San Diego now.
Believe so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him. I mean, so he's watching us from San Diego and tuning in and checking things out. And he suggested either a Hall of Fame or a current players NFL draft. So that's what we're going to do today. This is not a fantasy draft. This is not based on any points. This is still going to be a draft that you, the viewers, get to vote on who wins, on who has the best team on Twitter. And other than the team that you can see up top, where you have to have a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. Other than that, the only parameter is this is not about overall career. This is a little bit different than the Olympic draft that we just had. This is on what the team you would want out there next season. So in that sense, it sort of is like a fantasy draft that you're kind of basing that off of how well they'll produce. But there are no PPR. So this running back catches more passes and you want him on your team. It has nothing to do with that. It doesn't get that detailed. It's just put together your best squad for next season. None of Brady's Super Bowls matter. If you want him as your quarterback for this next year, then you can pick him if he's still available. So those are the parameters for this draft. Did another random draft order selection. For whatever reason, Ben keeps getting the first pick, which whatever. Well, if it happens again, I'll just redo it so he doesn't get the first pick. Chris is coming in at number 2. I will be at 3, and then Justin at 4. And we're just going to get right into it. So you guys get your lists ready. I'm going to stop sharing here so that I can edit this. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Anybody want to fill some time here while I get this up and running?
Can I tell a quick Tim Shaw story?
Yeah,
Hopefully,
baseball?
Well, Tim Shaw did play a lot of Sandlot baseball, but one story I want to tell is that Tim Shaw, growing up, he was into sports. He loves basketball, and he was a right-handed player. And then in high school, he decided he wanted to be a lefty, so he just switched left to be a lefty, and now he shoots left-handed, and he does pretty well. So pretty cool by Tim Shaw there. So nice work, buddy.
He continued on with the lefty, huh?
Yep, he's still lefty.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Again, thanks, Tim, for the suggestion, and hopefully this is everything you've ever wanted in an NFL draft done by 4 guys who know about as much or less than everybody else out there. So, Ben, number 1 pick, what route are you going?
Well, I wanted to take Rodgers just to spite Deke because I feel like he's going to take Rodgers early. But I'm not going to fall into that trap.
Okay.
We need to have 3 wide receivers, so I'm going to take who I think is the top wide receiver in the league right now. I'm going to take Michael Thomas. The guy just doesn't drop anything. I know he's got a great quarterback around him, but it doesn't seem to matter. I think who you put back there, I think he showed with Teddy Bridgewater in there last year. He's still a top receiver in the league.
Yeah, you say that, but their backup is now either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. So I would be interested to know if Jameis Winston had an effect on his ability, but still a great pick. I like your thinking there. Not a whole lot to say other than we'll move on to the number 2 pick. Chris, your first pick.
All right. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate you taking that guy. Quick shout out to T. Shaw, my boy. Love you, man. Second, so we're going with McCaffrey. First pick, running back, gold mine.
McCaffrey.
I think Ben just hurt himself.
Yep, pulled McCaffrey.
That's funny, Benny. That's funny. Oh, McCaffrey. Going to use that one again sometime.
Yeah.
My son will probably like that. My son will like that.
Leo?
He's 3.
I think
Yeah.
with my pick here, the third pick overall, just so that Deke doesn't get the satisfaction of a Packer pick, I think I'm going to go with Devontae Adams. There's a ton of good wide receivers, in that I shouldn't say a ton. There's a handful in that top elite class, and I think Adams is right there with them. But you could certainly interchange that with a few different wide receiver options. I just didn't want Deke to get Rodgers and Adams here on his back-to-back. So with that, I'll just give it right to you, Deke. You got number 4 and 5. Who are you going with?
Well, I want to tell everybody, all the listeners too, a lot of times these guys call me Deke. I'm also Justin, but I'm also Deke. So we'll clear that up the last few weeks. I'm sure you figured that out, but that's me, Deke.
Yeah, and I've always tried to be politically correct about it, and then just so people knew who you were. But I think from this point forward, maybe we'll just stick with what we typically call you. It's
Nobody
just
likes politics right now, anyways. It's just We'll go with Deke.
And when we're on work stuff, I always have to correct myself or think about it for a second to remember to call you Justin, because nobody knows that we call you Deke. So from this point forward, Deke it is. Deke, what are you going with number 4?
Well, I know you guys, I do have love for the Packers, but I don't see how I lose on this snake here. First, I'm going Patrick Mahomes, MVP of the league.
2 years
Wow.
ago.
That's a shocking development.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you can go wrong with it. Okay, MVP of the Super Bowl, right?
Could have Rodgers, but that's fine.
And then I'm going to probably his go-to man is Travis Kelce on the snake.
Going tight end off the board. Interesting with, guys like Gronkowski that I know you like.
Could be the best duo in football right now, though.
Well, and he does have Tyreek Hill, who's also, right up there with the better wide receivers in the league. I mean, you can't really go wrong with any picks on here. Everybody's going to have a stacked team. It's just a matter of how you go about doing it. If you're going to be wide receiver, running back heavy at the beginning, or the opposite, you've gone the opposite, at least for now. So we'll see. Now you can totally focus on running back and wide receiver the rest of the way. So we'll see how it all turns out. I like both players. It's interesting though, because it leaves everything wide open. I thought, I don't know what I want to do here. I think
you want to trade out.
No, I think with what Ben had mentioned in terms of there a lot of receivers. You got to draft the most receivers, and I think they are the most top heavy in terms of the first 5, depending on how you rank them. So I'm going to come back. I know it's a new team this year. But I do love Julio. No, I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's right up there with, you could, if you said he was in a top 3 wide receiver, I don't think anybody's really going to disagree with you. So that's the route that I'm going to take. Chris, what are you going to go with for your second pick, 7th overall?
All right. 7th overall, we're going with Saquon.
I'm going running back, but.
Well, going the traditional 2005 fantasy draft strategy.
Running back,
well,
running back.
This isn't a fantasy draft. I want to make sure everybody understands.
I'm just saying.
Well, I think we all saw my abilities when we didn't get first or second place, Deke, when you're doing your Olympic draft. I mean, you only got picked the best 3 players in the world. So
I could have my own show on how I disagree with how that vote came out for an whole hour, but I don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
I feel like we've had that on Twitter, on text messaging all week.
Let's leave that for another time. We're going to go right into Ben's 8th pick here, or I'm sorry, Ben's second pick, the 8th pick overall.
Yeah, I still think, like you said, Jason, I feel like the top 4 or 5 wide receivers, there's kind of a drop off after that. I'm going to go with Julio Jones for the first pick there. I still think he's the top. I mean, he's the wide receiver everybody looks up to. I know fantasy is a big thing of mine. You guys all play fantasy football as well. We do it together. But if he had decent touchdown numbers every year, I think he would be the number one wide receiver taken every year.
Nobody cares
Okay.
about fantasy stats. That's not what
All
we're
right.
talking about.
Can we stop talking about fantasy football here?
All right, fine.
Yeah,
He's
cool.
a top wide receiver. We get it.
Yep. Okay. Second pick, I will take Ezekiel Elliott.
All right.
All right.
Jason
No
and
time
Chris,
wasted.
Can you guys calm down just a little bit? You guys got pretty fired up.
Okay.
You're trying to skew
just
our
so
audience
everybody
here.
knows, the parameters were put out there before we even started the pod that this had nothing to do with fantasy.
No,
This is just on putting together the best squad. We've mentioned it twice now.
I didn't talk about it. It just was a reminder. It brought back memories when somebody drafted 2 running backs. It just brought back
I
memories.
think your
That's
comment was fine, but then Ben started explaining his pick of Julio based on fantasy points, and he would
Fair.
be the best.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
It's
enough.
just it's not necessarily what
Yeah.
we're doing. I understand Ben's comments. I agree with him. It's just we don't want to make this all about fantasy football because ultimately we're not going to see how this plays out in terms of fantasy points. We're just putting together the best squad we can. So we'll keep it rolling. Chris and Ben, you're okay. I'm sorry if I was too mean.
Thank you.
My feelings are hurt now.
You're
I'm not
welcome,
coming
Ben.
back.
Well, you'll get over it. Chris,
Oh.
10th pick overall, your third pick.
I want to hurt Ben's feelings some more because my point is Matt Ryan's not going to be throwing to Julio Jones, so everything he said after that point is irrelevant. So my second pick actually it's my third. We're going Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Going with the burner. So Chris has got the ground and pound, and he's got his deep threat. So I do agree with Chris, though, in the sense that if we're putting together a squad, your quarterback probably is not going to be Matt Ryan then. So
Correct. Which makes it even better for Julio Jones.
right, but it makes your whole
Correct.
argument irrelevant.
Well,
Yeah.
Cool.
need
Glad
to
we
give
got that
some
out
sort
there.
of need to give some sort of statistical
You don't.
argument. I want to.
With my third pick, the 11th pick overall. Gosh. Yeah, the top 3 running backs being gone, that's kind of wide open now. Oh, let's see. I think here, I was going to go running back, but actually, you know what? I don't have to go. I was going to say I'm going to go quarterback, but Zeke's not going to pick one in his next 2 picks, so it'll come back to me. So maybe I am going to look back at running back, and I'm going to go with, God, I'd hate to pick a Viking with that first running back. Dalvin Cook is good. I always like Derrick Henry.
Jason, I'm just going to step in here. That was the best move and very smart by not taking a QB or a tight end because Deke can't take another one. So
Exactly.
you're just eliminating one of his picks.
Yep.
Which are the same things you should do in a fantasy football draft.
Well, I got the best quarterback and the best tight end, though.
You do.
Patrick Mahomes is the second best quarterback in terms of fantasy purposes based on last year, Ben.
Oh, yeah, based on last year.
We'll go with Dalvin Cook just so we can shut Ben up. My number 1 running back, and I'll move it over to Justin's to Deke for picks 12 and 13 and your 3rd and 4th picks overall.
I will take Derrick Henry.
Okay. Were you going to take Dalvin Cook? Did I steal one from you?
Oh, no chance. I won't ever take a Viking in anything ever drafted in the history of this world. So don't ever think you're stealing a Viking from me because it's never happening.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, ever.
Got it.
And then the
For
next
all
pick,
time?
Yep. The next pick is Alvin Kamara.
Okay, so you were going. So I was thinking of all three of those guys. For whatever reason, Kamara's been like falling off here the last year and a half, which has just been odd in a team as good as the Saints. But I mean, I still think he's obviously super capable. So
I think he had a
think those
couple
are good.
small nagging injuries, I think.
Yeah, and
I
that's
could be
that's
wrong,
the
but
thing. And I guess I can't really say, well, I didn't pick him because of injury when I'm taking Dalvin Cook, who is just as fragile, it seems. So comes back to me, 14th pick overall, my fourth. Currently 2 wide receivers and a running back. I think this is where I go quarterback because I don't know that he'll make it back, and I think I go Lamar Jackson. I think he's proven to be literally a game changer in terms of how the Ravens have kind of changed football, like they said they were going into preseason. And then they came out and had the season that they did, and Lamar Jackson had the season that he did. Maybe not the greatest passer per se, but still, I mean, he's a monster back there. He's tough to defend against. So I'll turn it to Chris then, pick 15. You currently have 2 running backs and a wide receiver. What are you going to go with?
Yep, going tight end off the board. We're going to go with Kittle.
Right. So Chris sort of rounding out his team, only heavy in running, or he's done with running back at this point. So he's wide receiver, two wide receivers and a quarterback left for him. Ben, you got back-to-back picks 16 and 17. You currently have 2 wide receivers and a running back.
Yes. I'm going to take Mike Evans with the first pick.
I thought about him at pick 14, but wasn't sure if he'd make it back or not.
So I am rounded out at wide receiver.
Oh, and Ben, just so you know, so that you feel happy about how I listed everybody here, I pulled it off of 2020 fantasy rankings. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
In that case, this was a bit of a reach because you did go down and get him over a couple of guys that were supposedly rated above him. But pick 17, you are now done with wide receivers, so you need a running back, tight end, and quarterback yet.
I need one of each. I am going to take Zach Ertz.
Ertzy, okay, interesting pick because you're basically hoping that I'm not going to take him with my next 2 picks because Chris and Justin already have a tight end. So the option
I also want to go against Ben's thought because he was saying how you should draft in fantasy, but yet I'm drafting a quarterback in front of him now, coming on the back of the wheel. So
Right.
he picked the 2 positions I already have filled.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity for Ben to get a better player at quarterback, I don't think that Ertz is, head and shoulders better above any other person that's left on the tight end list. So why take him there when you could have had maybe a quarterback that you like better? But then again, maybe you say, okay, well, I know I have 3 quarterbacks that I like, and it doesn't matter which one I end up with. So
that to me was more what it came down to as I look at the list of, the remaining running backs and quarterbacks that are out there. And I would rather have Ertz over, the possibility of these other guys.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's how your own strategy in that sense. So Chris, you do have your tight end, you have your running backs. So it's going to be wide receiver or quarterback. And I think you nodded at the fact that you're going to go quarterback here, or maybe your next pick. But what are you going to go with?
I'm not going quarterback because you and Justin already have quarterbacks. So I know It's going to loop around to me, and I'm going to be able to snag one before. So, I mean, I think Rodgers is going to call me after this because he's going to be so happy of his squad throwing to McCaffrey, Barkley, Beckham Jr. is who we're going with for wideout. So, we are stacked with Rodgers at QB, just so you all know it's going to happen later.
I will let you know that he would have made it back at least for me, I was not going to take him.
Well,
I
he's got
just-
a terrible current quarterback, but if you had Rodgers,
I'm just not a
whoa.
fan. I'm not talking about his
Could be,
Not a fan either.
ability. Yeah, I'm just his antics
Pure
really
ability
get me.
only.
Yeah,
could be some drama on that team with George Kittle, OBJ, and then if you're coming back with Rodgers, could be some drama.
Like that. Yeah, true.
Interesting. I don't know that George Kittle's a drama guy.
Well, he takes some shine away from OBJ. You know that.
Well, yeah, there's always going to be drama with him regardless. Everything could be going great. They could be undefeated, and he's still going to complain and make it about him. So, I mean, it's a good pick. I don't care for him. I understand his ability. So let's see. That brings it to me. I got 2. So I need a wide receiver. I need a running back, and I need a tight end. Okay, so I know, just for everybody watching, that everybody has a tight end except for me. So tight end is going to be my 27th pick. So that means it's running back or wide receiver, and who I like most there. I think I'm going to go running back. The problem here is, actually, no, Deke has 2 running backs, so I'm going to go wide receiver. Maybe steal one away. Well, you know what? I was just thinking I'm going to go with Adam Thielen because I like his game, but I know Deke's not going to take him based on his last comment.
What if he was just
You guys
playing
you guys could play a mean game on me here if you look at it pretty close.
I'm going to go Chris Godwin. I think he's the best. He's an up and coming wide receiver, maybe a little under the radar in terms of where he plays and what he's done so far. But I think he's really good. So I'm going to take him off the board, and that'll bring it to Deke with picks 20 and 21. Again, you running backs are gone, so and tight end and quarterbacks.
Got receivers left.
Yep.
So to follow up with my Lightning and Thunder running back core there, which is the definition with those 2 guys, I'm going with Juju Smith-Schuster. Super fun name to say. Try it, Ben.
Juju Smith-Schuster. It is fun.
Yes.
Is it Juju?
And then we'll come back on the snake with Amari Cooper.
I got a snake. That was bad.
Wah.
Yeah. So with that, I am going to take, again, tight end remaining for my last pick. So that leaves me with a running back, correct? Yeah. 3 wide receivers and a quarterback. Gosh, I like Aaron Jones. I think for me, I think it might be between Nick Chubb and Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders has a chance to really be something special this year. He kind of showed a little bit of that last year. But I really do like Nick Chubb's game. I'm going to take Chubb because I feel like Ben likes me saying Nick Chubb over and over.
You could just say Chubb.
Just Chubb?
Yeah, I'll take Chubb.
I'm going to take a little Chubby there with
No,
my...
it's not. See, now you twisted it.
You went
Too
too
far?
far there.
Yep, too far.
Oh, too far. Okay. Well, I did say little, but...
Oh,
Fine.
even farther. Where's the
All
garbage
right.
can?
Sorry. So, Chris, let's see. You have 2 running backs. You have your tight end. You have hinted at the fact you're going to take quarterback here in front of Ben. So does that still reign true? Ring true?
That still reigns true to me. We are going with Rodgers.
All right. Simple and easy. Gets Rodgers. Ben, would you have loved for him to fall to you?
I would have been okay with it. I mean, I would have taken him.
But if he was there, were you taking him along with the quarterbacks that are left?
Yes, I probably would have. My love for all things Packers, plus the fact that he just doesn't turn the ball over. I still think he's a great pick.
All things Packers with one out there yet.
Yeah, there is a running back out there. Ben's going to round out his team. He does need to, let's see, you need to take a running back and a quarterback. So with that, what are you going with your 24th and 25th pick?
For my squad, I'm going to say I like Dak's game. I'm going to take Dak as my quarterback.
Okay, can I point something out here?
Point it out.
I think you're really dropping the ball having the first pick on this draft, Ben. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I don't like your team. I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just don't.
Hey, we can talk after this, and we'll have a side bet.
Yeah, there'll be time for that.
All right.
But let's finish out the draft itself first. So Ben, to round out your team, you do need to go running back. So where are you going there?
I will take Joseph Mixon.
Yeah, I think I'm not a huge Dak fan, and I think your Joe Mixon pick is purely fantasy based. I think in terms of he's got some ability, but it's more as like a fast catcher. So I don't know. I'm not in love with the Mixon pick.
Ben, you think Mixon's better than Aaron Jones as a Packer fan?
Again, it's difficult for me to separate because fantasy is always my default. And I think Mixon, given the amount of opportunities, he's always going to do better. Whereas I just don't see Aaron Jones, especially with them drafting another running back. He's not going to get opportunities. I know we're not talking about it in that realm.
Correct, we're not. So thank you for your pointless detail. But
your favorite video game is Final Fantasy.
Which one? There's a lot of them.
Exactly, all of them.
I mean, I get it. I understand. As soon as you took him, I understand it. It is what it is. We'll see how it shakes out on Twitter, and but it's still gonna. We still need to round out everybody else's team. Chris, you need to take a wide receiver.
I do. I mean, looking at Ben's team, I couldn't be more happy right now. It is just a pile of garbage. So I feel really good about this.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
It's awful.
Let's make the picks first, then we can talk.
So my wide receivers, I need one left. I was thinking off the board, even things we don't have listed. I was looking at Ty Hilton. I was looking at Calvin Ridley, just to play a little slot for me. But truly, this is more of a fanhood pick than anything. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. I think he is going to be a star. He's got monster hands. Somebody that's going to fill out this roster perfectly for us.
All right. I like that pick. I was wondering if anybody would go off the board. I didn't put a ton of people on there because obviously there's a boatload of wide receivers and running backs in the league. But
Jarvis Landry out there. There's a lot of them that we maybe didn't cover. DJ Moore, but
certainly available. I don't know that I would put any of them in the upper tier. I mean, they may fall into the bottom of this tier. Again, it depends on how you're looking at it. But either way, I need to finish out my squad with a tight end. I think to get the vote, I need to pick a name that people know. Darren Waller absolutely balled out this last year. I really like his game.
Love him.
And Hooper is sort of right there as well. But I think to get the vote, I gotta go with Gronk now that he's back.
Where did Hooper go to? Where did he get signed?
He went to Cleveland, I believe, didn't he?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
He did. But I'm running out with Gronk. He's
they
awesome.
Definitely need some Hoopers there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Deke, why don't you finish it out after that terrible joke?
I am finishing it out with Kenny Galladay. And I just want to point out one of the biggest things here that I'm shocked by, like absolutely shocked. I'm going back to Ben's team again, is that he took Dak Prescott over Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, or Tom Brady. Because they're all still on the board.
Yeah. I mean, Brady would not have been in that conversation with me. So you guys can see
He threw
final.
in the towel. Let's just be honest. He threw in the towel once he started taking Ertz. And he took a stretch at Prescott, and then he threw off the board with Mixon.
Hey, look,
it was just a disaster. Fell apart.
We can pick it apart however we want, but it doesn't matter what we think. I mean, you can obviously go onto Twitter and for yourself, which I will say that in the Olympic draft, I went onto Twitter and I did not draft my own, or I did not pick my own team in the poll. I actually picked Ben's team. So I just went with the team that I thought was the best. You don't have to pick Ben's team. You can pick your team. You can pick anybody's team. We'll see how it shakes out on Twitter at @rest_field and see what the people think, who they think has the best squad. I think Ben has some of the elite talent at the top of his draft, which, comes with being the number one pick. But I think everybody has their major studs. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what names it is. Maybe, how about this? If you vote on the poll, how about list the one player underneath the poll that swayed your vote? So if you're picking Ben's team, maybe it is Zach Ertz or maybe it's Julio Jones. Just type in that player and we'll know which team you voted for and who was the guy that you were really wanted to know. Maybe you're a Rodgers fan. Maybe you're a Packer fan. And, Rodgers is on Chris's team, so he gets my vote kind of regardless of where you get him. Or if you're looking at Deke's team and you love Mahomes' game, maybe that's the guy who swayed it for you. So let's try that. Let's see who's listening and paying attention. Go on to Twitter @rest_field and vote for who you like and then comment on the player that swayed your vote. Does that work for everybody?
Works. I mean, that works for me. I like Chris's team. I think he's got a solid squad.
I think they're all good. I think there's points
Pretty
where
happy.
even my own team, there's points where I wish I would have maybe gone a different route. But it was fun. It was a fun one. Thank you, Tim Shaw, for suggesting that to us. You can find Tim at TimShaw222. Those are all the number 2 at the end there. Check him out on Twitter. Give him a follow. Give him some likes. But show us your love on the social medias. That's what it's there for. We want to see suggestions. We want to give you guys what you want. And from there, we'll start to wrap it up unless anybody has anything else they want to add in here.
Shout out to Dave Steinbach. Viewer of the show. Made a lot of nice comments to us. Shout out to Dave Steinbach, and if anybody can subscribe to our channel, we'd love for you to do so. It's how we can keep these shows coming. So
yeah, we'll keep it coming with any suggestions and feedback that we get. Even if it's something you don't like, we can stop doing something if people out there don't like it. That's what we want to hear. So certainly let us know. But with that, we'll wrap it up. This was episode 4. My name is Jason Gorman. Chris Weiler, we'll just call him Deke, and Ben Christensen. We are the Rest of the Field. Our personal Twitter handles are there, so you can check us out as well on our individual Twitter feeds, but also @rest_field on Instagram, the Rest of the Field YouTube channel. Give us the subscribe. Give us some likes, follows, comments. We want to see it all out there. We'll try to bring you something here sometime on the weekend, but certainly check us out wherever you can find us. Thank you for tuning in. We had a blast. Until the next time, we're out.